Well, we watched The Dig, which is the new Netflix film by Simon Stone, based on the 2000 novel of the same name by John Preston, I believe it is, which is
Hmm.
itself a telling of the real life story of the 1939 excavation of Sutton Hoo. It stars Ray Fiennes, Kerry Mulligan, Lily James, Johnny Flynn, and several other people. Um, all set around Kerry Mulligan owning a large amount of land and believing that she may have some sort of burial grounds or some sort of artifacts buried in her property, and hiring Basil Brown, played by Ray Fiennes, to come and excavate it and find out if there is anything in there and to dig it up. Hence the title. Um, do I need to say more, or should we just get into it?
No, I think that's pretty good.
It's been so long since we've
Yeah,
done a joint review. I don't know. I can't remember how we did it.
yeah, strange. I'm gonna start by saying I liked this film. I thought it dragged a little bit.
Okay.
And I thought there was some really it was beautiful because it was, the cinematography was really nice. It was very attractive film to watch.
Mm.
And it got that kind of Suffolk sky. I think is quite a famous kind of thing. I went to Suffolk a couple of times as a kid on holiday, um,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's a really beautiful part of the country, and it was definitely done justice, I think, in this film. Um, my main bugbear with it was the um, the story was about Sutton Hoo and about
Mm.
this dig, and there's a romance shoehorned in there.
Do you want me to say how I feel? Because I feel like we're both going to agree more or less. I loved
It
it
Yeah,
until Lily James showed up.
yeah,
And this is no dig at
basically.
Lily James. I like Lily James. But I was so invested in the first half of the film, which is like them digging the place up, discovering this thing, having like I was really invested in it to the point where I got a bit emotional at one point. And then about halfway through, like a bigger crew. Well, I don't want to give too much away. More people get involved in the dig, and yeah,
Yeah,
as Alistair said, there's a romance subplot in it, and it was just like I don't care. I just don't care. Give me
it's
more Ray
totally
Fiennes and Kerry
unnecessary.
Mulligan. Ray Fiennes is why I'm here. I was so invested in Basil Brown, and then as soon as more people showed up and more little plot lines started happening, I just lost interest.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about the relevance of that entire subplot because I'm not sure if it's even real or if it's fictional. That whole
I've looked
part,
into it. They are
and
fictional people, so they've been written in purely for the sake of this film.
to make it interesting. Well, that's the thing. If you're making a film about something, you have to have enough. You have to be convinced that the film is interesting enough on its own. Surely, if it's based on a true story,
Mm.
you take liberties in order to abridge in a based on a true story. You don't add an entirely new plot line. It seemed really strange
And that was the thing,
to
because
me.
I was by the halfway point, I was relieved. I was like, oh, it's so nice to see a film that has obviously a main male lead and a main female supporting character, or you could even argue that Kerry Mulligan is the lead half the time, and there not be any romance there, that not be a part of the plot. I liked it that it was free of any like sexual tension or anything. I just liked the story being told, and then they went and fucking
It would
threw
have
that
been
in
low
anyway.
hanging fruit.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah, it
threw it
was
in anyway.
that would have been really easy to do, and then they did it in an even worse way than they could have done it, which would have been bad anyway. It was
It
really,
really
I
it struck me as filmmakers or producers. I don't know who made the decision, but it struck me as someone decided, oh, this isn't going to get in the younger audience, or this isn't quite racy enough to get as much attention. Let's throw in two good-looking young actors and give them a love story, and then that might bring in a few more people. So someone caved at some level of this film.
Yeah, and it is a bit disappointing because I think it was otherwise a really nice film, and I thought Ralph Fiennes and Carey Mulligan both knocked it out of the park.
100%.
You could tell that they were both really invested in the characters. Like, I listened to an interview that Ralph Fiennes did with Simon Mayo about this, and he was actually like, he said, it was something that he really enjoyed making, as opposed to some of the other things that he's worked on.
And I listened to the same interview, but I didn't realise he was from Suffolk.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
No,
but so it possibly held a bit of a kind of nostalgic spot in his heart.
Yeah, you'd like to think he might have known of the story already and thought he wanted to do it justice, because I think he did. But
yeah,
I want to give two shout-outs before I slate it anymore. Monica Dolan, who plays Basil Brown's wife, even though she's only in a few scenes, I thought she was fucking great. Like, again,
she's really good.
Don't want to spoil it, but there's a bit where Basil Brown needs a bit of pep, needs a bit of encouragement, and she fucking steals the scene. And I also thought the music by Stephen Gregory was beautiful. I got really into it.
There was fair enough.
A few if I say what it is, I won't give it away. There's one shot of Basil Brown like lying in dirt or sleeping in mud, basically, and I got really into it. The music started swelling, and it was Basil all sad in the mud, and I was just like, "Oh, Basil, no!" I was so invested in his character. It's a joke. I don't even know how.
Oh, Basil!
I stepped out halfway through watching it and said to my housemate, and I was like, "Oh, I'm watching this film about a guy excavating a field in the 1930s, but trust me, I'm really into it." And I don't think she quite believed me.
Yeah.
But all right, shall we do scores? Because I feel like we both liked it, but we've both got similar problems with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I like it despite the love story, I think. And so, for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7. I think that's I think without that whole subplot, if they'd focused a bit more into the other elements, could have been an 8 out of 10 film. Could have even been higher if it had carried on with the same kind of quality as it starts with. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 because I did still enjoy it and I would watch it again, I think.
All right. Well, I went for 7 as well. And like you said, if they had taken out the love story and focused, because there is a subplot about like the looming World War II, and obviously because at the time that was a looming figure over this whole thing. And I think if they just had the main story and then had the sort of subplot of World War II going on and just those two, and maybe made the film, I don't know, 10-15 minutes shorter, I would have been perfect. That would have been an 8 out of 10 film.
Oh, I'd have been over the moon if it had been slightly shorter.
Yeah.
You know me.
Well, I was going to make a joke, but I won't because it's poor taste. But yeah, you're right. And like if it didn't have that, I would have scored it higher. But I think I still enjoyed it, and the first half of it I fucking loved, and I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Basil Brown. So there we are.
He's a good old boy.
I'm not even going to try and do a Suffolk accent. I'm so bad. I did try earlier, thinking maybe I could do it in a podcast, and it did not go well.